Okay, now we have to start with the third unit, that is producers, behavior and equilibrium. See, in the first unit we studied only about the consumer. Means if you are thinking about certain law, certain logic, so you have to think from the point of view of the consumer. But from this particular unit, now you have to think as a producer, as a seller, right? Or simply better is you think as a producer, how you will produce the commodities, and now your aim will also change. There the aim was to attain the maximum satisfaction. Here satisfaction is in terms of profit. Your satisfaction is, your aim is to maximize your profit, right? So under this unit we will have various chapters. The first chapter of this particular unit is production. Because to think from the point of view of the producer, you should first know what is production, right? In simple language, production is simply the conversion of inputs to outputs. You put some input, some raw material, you make something new, that is the output, right? Especially in reference to economics, inputs refer to the factors of production, that is land, labor, capital and entrepreneur, right? Or better you call them as the factors of production. And output is the goods and services. A producer is using the inputs, land, labor, capital, entrepreneur, making the outputs to sell them into the market with the objective of maximizing his profit, right? And production means conversion of inputs into outputs. Now see, when we talk about the production, we have to understand what is production function. Like already discussed what function means, the functional relationship between the particular variable and its determinants, right? So it is simply the relation between production and its determinants. Determinants means on what factor it depends or what factors influence it. Simply the determinants are the inputs. Your whatever you put as input, that will affect your output, that will affect your production, right? Like if you increase the input, output will also increase. These inputs, as we said, so it means that production is the function of land, labor, capital and entrepreneur, right? The determinants. But we consider here that the land remains same and entrepreneur itself is the same person. Entrepreneur will not change, business owner will not change, and we also consider that here in the short term the land is also constant, land has not changed. So it basically these two become the main determinants, or the equation of production function is that quantity or the production is the function of capital and labor, right? Depends on two basic factors, that is the capital and the labor. Just take an example. If I want to increase the strength of this particular institute, right? So I do not have the land available, but I can obviously change the resources, right? Or I can increase the time what I spend here, right? Hire more people who can spend more time, or increase the economic activities. But land and the entrepreneur would remain the same. So these are two major determinants, or this is the production function. Now we have to understand that this production function can be studied in two runs, short run and long run. See, short run is a shorter period of time, maybe say 5 years, 10 years, short run. Long run is a longer period of time, right? Maybe say 20 years. But here mathematically we consider 1 year as short run and more than 1 year is long run, right? Or 5 years is long run. Under the short run, some factors are fixed, you cannot change them, while some factors are variable, right? Like you cannot change the land the machines in the short run, but you can change the variable factor, that is the labor. In the long run, all factors are variable. You can change all factors. You have enough time to change the factors. Again, you can simply understand that under the two factors which we are studying, capital is the fixed one and labor is the variable one, right? Consider an example. A factory working 8 hours a day with 50 laborers and 4 machines and producing 100 units per day, right? Now this factory gets an order of 500 units to be provided in 3 days, right? Understand the situation once again. A factory working 8 hours a day with 50 labor and 4 machines and producing 100 units per day gets an order of 500 units to complete within 3 days. Now do you think that this order can be fulfilled? Can it be fulfilled? Yes, it can be fulfilled, right? There are two ways. Either I bring more machines or I bring more labor, right? The idea of bringing new machine is not a good one. Why not a good one? Because it is a short term order. I may not get the order again. Okay, so I have 100 unit capacity may be enough for me. The other option is better. I hire 50 more labor and make them work for 8 additional hours. Right? In the first shift, first labor is working, first batch of labor is working, the second one the other batch. So it means I have doubled the labor, right? So production also becomes from 100 to 200 units per day. So it means in 2.5 days I can complete this particular order, and after 2.5 days I can remove the labor. But if I would have bought a new machine, I cannot remove that machine, right? So this is the short run. Here the production is increased by increasing the variable factor. While the fixed factor, you can see machine, it is the capital, right? It remains constant, right? While in the long run, all are variable. We will study long run, talk about the long run in the later on. First, you have to understand in detail the short run, right? One more thing is to be considered, that production is possible only by combining the fixed and the variable factor. Okay, the machine cannot do the work of the labor and labor cannot do the work of the machine. You have to combine. If you have complete labor, then also work is not possible, and if you have all the machine but no man to work, then also work is not possible. You have to combine them. So first we have to understand the various concepts related with the production. First is the TP or TPP. It is total product or total physical product. TP or total physical product means it is the output or the units, number of units produced by employing certain units of the variable factor with fixed factor. Okay, it can be defined as the output produced by employing certain units of the variable factor with the fixed factor. Actually, we talk only in the terms of variable factor because fixed factor we assume to be constant. It simply means that suppose you are hiring 10 labor, then how many units you are producing? Suppose you are producing 60 units, so it means TP is equal to 60. Okay? By employing certain units of the variable factor, how many units you are able to produce. Then next is average product. AP or APP. Again, it can be called as the average product or the average physical product. See, the double P only stands for physical. Physical means measurable, right? It is the output produced per unit of variable factor employed. Okay, means how much output your one labor is producing on an average. Suppose total product, same we can take, was 60 and the labor employed was 10. So it means on an average one person is producing 60 upon 10, that is 6 units, or you can say AP is equal to TP divided by the units produced, that is TP upon Q. Then next is the marginal product. Again MP or MPP, marginal product or marginal physical product. As we know that marginal means change, right? So it simply shows that the change in output when one additional unit of the variable factor, which we take as labor, is employed. Like same thing, we can again take the same example. Suppose when 10 labor were working, 60 units were being produced. Now when I have one more labor, 11th labor, now 66 units are being produced. So it means the 11th labor, one additional labor has added 6 units in my production. This is the marginal product, right? It can be calculated using the formula. It can be used by using the formula TP at n is equal to TP at n minus 1, or MP is simply the change in total product when one additional unit is of the labor is employed. Remember, here the change in labor should be 1, because marginal itself means that change in the other variable should be equal to 1. After learning the various concepts of production, that is total production, marginal production and average production, now we have to talk about the most important topic of this particular unit, that is the short-run production function, right? Remember, short-run production function is a function where some factors are fixed and some factors are variable. Fixed factor is capital and variable factor is labor. Just take an example of a factory. Suppose it is working 8 hours a day. Working 8 hours a day with 50 laborers and producing total output of 200 units, along with 4 machines employed in the particular factory, right? Now suppose this particular factory gets an order of say 800 units to be supplied within say 2 days, right? So how would we increase, so first question is that can this factory complete this order, right? Some of you might say yes, some of you might say no, but most of you would agree that it can complete this order, right? This order can be completed. Just imagine, suppose it was your firm, right, your factory, and you get this particular order. Now you can increase your production by 2 ways. There are 2 ways. One is you bring 4 more machines, right? So you can double your production. You can produce 400 units in 1 day and 800 units in 2 days. But I don't think that would be a good idea, because these orders I not get every day, right? So the better option is that I bring more labor. And remember, we are studying the short run production function, where the theoretically also you cannot increase the fixed factor. What I do is I bring 50 more labor, make them work 8 additional hours, right? So I can produce now 400 units per day, and I can complete the order in 2 days. So short run production function is all about this particular study, that how this production is increased while keeping the one factor, that is the fixed factor, constant, and increasing only one factor, that is the variable factor. Now we simply have to understand that both these variable and fixed factors, both are important for production. You need both the fixed factor as well as the variable factor. Combination of both will work. One single cannot produce anything, right? For example, if you have only machines, no labor, then also you cannot produce anything. While if you have only labor but not the machine, then also you cannot produce anything, right? Both are required. Now see, again same, we take this example of that particular factory. It was a feasible idea to do that for 2 days or maybe 4 days, but not every day, right? Production cannot be sold. And similarly, what happens when I keep increasing the variable factor? This I am increasing labor, I am bringing on more labor, right? But I am not able to increase the number of machines with me, or the capital factor, fixed factor. Now just take an example. Suppose I had 4 machines and I had 50 laborers working in my factory. Now I increase the number of labor, maybe say 51, 52, and maybe say 80, and maybe say 100. So now you can see what is happening, the availability of the fixed factor is decreasing. For example, you had 50 machines and 50 laborers. So this was the ratio, right? Then you had 4 machines and 51 labor. Then you had 4 machines and 80 labor. So availability of the fixed factor. See, whenever I write a particular line on the board, I always tell you that there is some reason behind writing it. Availability of the fixed factor per unit of the variable factor decreases. That is the core of the short run production function, okay? This is the main thing that we have to study. Because see, what will happen? It will create certain problems, right? You all would agree that when the availability of the fixed factor is decreasing, then some of the problems might creep into my production, right? This topic I am explaining to you in a lot of detail because it is the most important part of this unit. If you understand this, only then you can understand the unit further, right? In the chapter of cost, revenue, producer equilibrium, everywhere this concept is used. Universal concept. Okay, so this is the core of the whole thing, right? So what happens now, we will study this particular concept with the help of marginal product and total product, right? So what happens, first of all we talk about the marginal product, right? You remember marginal product is the output which per additional labor you are getting when you increase, or simply when you are increasing your labor by 1 unit, how much production that is added by that particular labor. So what happens, and one more thing we have to just look back into the same thing, the practical concept of the factory which we were talking about. Remember that no person would, whenever you start a business, like for example you want to again say start a factory, okay, which should have 4 machines and 50 labor. You all must agree that on the first day, and say output of 200 units per day. Same example we are taking which we were talking about. Now from the first day, do you think that I'll operate with 50 labor and with 200 output, or maybe on the second day, maybe on the third day, or maybe for 1 or 2 months of my business? Because first thing that I will not get this much of sales in the market because I'm starting something new, right? Or I'll always, and I plan to do the business in the long run. If you have learnt accounting, you must have also learned the concept of accounting, which is known as the long run concept. Means every business is started for a long run. So now what I do is I have some extra installed availability of the fixed factor. The fixed factor in the initial stages remains unutilized. When we start the business, like suppose if I had to start this coaching center, I started with the capacity of say 30 students, but on the first day I will not have 30 students, right? So same thing, same lies in all the market, in all the production processes, that you will not start the first day with the full installed capacity. Or you again have to remember, this is again an important word, right? That some fixed factor is unutilized. Now what I do is, now as I increase the variable factor, that unutilized part starts getting utilized. So in the initial stage my marginal product may increase, but after some time what will happen, that the same concept, the lack of the shortage of the fixed factor will lead to fall in the marginal product. This is the most important law of this particular whole unit for producer equilibrium, and it is known as the law of variable proportions. Okay, and what does it state? It simply states that if you increase the production by increasing the variable factor while keeping the fixed factor constant, that means in the short run, then the marginal product of your labor, of your variable factor, may initially rise, but ultimately it has to decline, right? Now based on this same concept, we have the three phases of production. Means every production unit will go through three phases or three stages of production. Again, very important concept, very important topic. First is the stage of increasing returns. Stage of increasing returns, as the name says, increasing returns. The return where my marginal product is increasing. And my total product will increase at an increasing rate. Okay, we will talk about this in detail, what is increasing rate, when we do this numerically. Okay, for now you have to just understand that marginal product rises and the total product increases at an increasing rate. Second is the stage of diminishing returns. In the second stage, MP starts declining, but it remains positive, and TP increases at an diminishing rate. And the third stage is the stage of negative returns. Again, as the name says, MP becomes negative and TP starts falling. Okay, this is the important topic, and all these three stages are reflecting the three phases of production which every unit will face: the increasing returns, diminishing returns, and negative returns. Now we have to understand this numerically, and numerically only you can understand it better. Okay, for the numerical example, we have the units of fixed factor, then units of the variable factor, then total product and marginal product. Okay, again, as we have already learned that here the fixed factor remains constant. Okay, so now we have to start with the construction of the numerical example. Again, we have to start from the marginal product. So we go to according to the stages, right? First we increase the marginal product. Say marginal product is 10, 12, 15. Then we decrease the marginal product. Say 12, 10, 6, 2, 0, minus 2. And minus 4. Again, you can see first I have increased the marginal product, then I have decreased the marginal product, and then I have made it negative. Right? Any number you can take, any number. Then we derive the total product with the help of marginal product. So it's 10, then 22, then 37, then 49, 59, 65, 67. 67, 65 and 61. Okay, this is how it is derived and this is how it is constructed. Now this particular phase shows the first stage, second stage and the third stage, right? Increasing returns, diminishing returns and the negative returns. Then we were talking about the behavior of the total product. Now see, there I wrote in the first stage it increases at the increasing rate. See, now the increase is by 12 units, then the increase is by 15 units, right? If you include 0 also, then this increases by 10, right? This increases by 12, 15. When it increases by a greater number than the increase which was given by the previous variable unit, right? Like the first unit of variable factor I did 10 units, then the next one I did 12. So first TP increases by 10, then by 12, then by 15. So it is increasing at an increasing margin. Then still in the second stage also you can see TP is increasing, right? But now it increases by 10, then by 6, then by 2, then by 0. Okay, so now here it is the difference. This is increasing at an increasing rate and increasing at a decreasing rate. And obviously in the third stage it starts declining, right? So it is clear that if you are a producer, you will never go into the third stage, because you will pay the labor also and you will decrease your total production also. So you will not even hire a labor if you are getting it for free. Suppose it is my factory, I am getting the say 9th labor for free. I will not keep it because my production is 67, and if I employ that labor, my production will become 65, right? So third stage is eliminated, right? Now we have to study these stages diagrammatically. Again, you have to remember that when the curve is increasing, the slope of the TP is increasing, so it will be a concave curve. When it is decreasing, then it will be a convex curve. You can first divide your graph into 3 parts: for the first stage, for the second stage and for the third stage. Okay, first I draw a concave curve, then a convex curve, and then diminishing. This is the total production. Then NP first increases 0 and negative, right? So this is how you draw first concave curve, then convex curve, then declining, then for MP first rising, then 0 and then negative. This TP and MP are connected because on the first unit of labor, when you employ the first unit of the variable factor, your TP and MP will be equal, right? You can see the numerical also. When you employ the first labor, MP is also 10 and TP is also 10. Okay, so these are three important concepts: the law of variable proportion, its statement, okay, then its numerical example and its diagram, right? But understanding the law of variable proportion is not sufficient with these things. Okay, you have to go into detail. You have to understand the basic concept. Again, I am reminding you, the basic thing is that when I am increasing my production with the increasing only the variable factor, the availability of the fixed factor is constantly decreasing, and that due to that these stages are coming up, right? That is the problem. If I could increase the fixed factor also, then this problem may not occur, right? So now we will talk about the causes of the three stages. Obviously the basic cause being the lack of the fixed factor. But see, in the first stage the causes would be positive because it is the increasing returns. According to the stages we will do it, right? The first cause for the increasing returns is utilization of the, or you can better write it as fuller utilization of the fixed factor. Okay, as I told you that any of the businesses, whenever a business is started, it is not started with the full capacity on the first day, or simply you plan for something extra, that if I get, say, within 2 years or 3 years my business will grow, so I'll keep some extra fixed factor with me because it will be difficult to increase it later on. For example, if I have to look at the size of my coaching center, so I'll plan it accordingly that how much I have to grow it within few years, right? Similarly with the factories, you will not employ less machines, you will always have some extra machines, extra land, everything. So when we increase the variable factor slowly, then this underutilized part, due to the you can call it as extra installed capacity. Actually these are the technical words which you should know. In explaining them also you can take the help of it, because the underutilized part of the fixed factor which is existing due to some extra installed capacity, that starts utilizing and you can get the increasing returns. Then second is the better coordination. See, because of the extra installed capacity or the capacity which we are not using, due to that some of the variable factor was you can say lacking. Okay, once I increase the variable factor, then the coordination would increase. Okay, or you can simply say if there were only 4 machines, and only 20 labor, but actually there should have been 50 labor. When I move on to this phase, then I'll get a better coordination. Maybe 20 labor are using only the 2 machines, so only 2 machines are working right now. As we move on, then we get some better stage of production, right? So again you can explain it, simple explanation for this one, nothing such technical. Then third is specialization. Okay, this is a very important concept. You are studying it in business studies also. Most of it is based on this only. Specialization is that when someone continuously does some work, or you can simply remember one proverb: practice makes man perfect. You will never forget this concept, specialization. Once you keep doing a particular work, you become perfect in that, right? For example, a carpenter is perfect in his work, a software engineer is perfect in his work. With their experience they become perfect in that particular work, right? And when my labor is working continuously for the same job, so it also gives me some specialization, and specialization is possible only with many labor, or you can say with adequate amount of labor. Okay, so as I move on to utilize my fixed factor, the additional labor which is coming in, that will help me to do specialization, right? Like for example, take an example of a school which want that every subject teacher should be a specialist. So it has to hire at least 15 teachers, right, to have the perfection in the 15 subjects. So this is specialization. It is possible only when you have adequate amount of labor. Suppose you have only 8 teachers in that school, then specialization cannot be achieved. Everybody will have to do at least 2 works. Okay, now we move on to the causes of the second stage, that is the diminishing returns. Now causes are negative. Causes would be negative. Like first of all is the over pressure on the fixed factor. Or you can also call it as overutilization, using more than the capacity of the fixed factor, or you can call it as pressure on the fixed factor, constantly increasing the number of labor, 80, 90, what is happening? Pressure is falling on the only on the 4 machines which you are having on the factory, so their performance tends to decline. And obviously more wear and tear, more depreciation. Then second is bad coordination or problem of the coordination. More people, difficult to manage, machines are less, labor is wasting their time, right? One labor is working on a machine, others are waiting and chatting. So lack of coordination. And third is difficulty in management problem. Right? It is difficult to manage a lot of people, and overcrowding. Okay, actually these lead to the negative returns. Right? So for 2 causes you can have for the diminishing returns, and then you can have this one, third. Or you can also amalgamate with it with the diminishing returns if it is asked, right? Overcrowding means again movement problem, all sort of problems, tools not kept at a proper place. So you can all note down these words and you can explain them. Overcrowding again leads to the negative returns. So once again